everyone. Welcome back to a Love All episode. I feel like it's been such a long time, Blair. I am like a little bit out of it. I'm in sweaty Belgium, hot Belgium. I'm sweating. There's no air conditioning anywhere. But it's nice to see that you're at home in the air conditioning, probably.
I am at home. It is also blazing in Texas. But yes, there is AC. I will say, though, as you know, Kim, you're in my prime conditions. I was probably the only one who was at a hotel last week and had maintenance come up because I could not turn the air up high enough, like to be warm. I was too cold.
That sounds lovely right now. I just want to be under a thick blanket and, fall asleep like with a cold nose or something.
Oh my gosh. But I love that you've got the hot weather, very trendy slick back going today. So you're ready.
It's not really for trend. It's more out of, I don't want to upset anybody. The frizz is really bad.
But also happy anniversary, Kim. We are recording a little bit later today because you had an anniversary dinner tonight.
Yes. Both Brian and I, we forgot that it was our 19th anniversary. And I got a message from my friend this morning. She was like, hey, guys, happy anniversary. And we were like, wait, what, today? And then we just checked the date on our phone and we were like, all right, well. And then Brian, we went to dinner and so a little later recording than usual. I'm at my grandma's house and hence the beautiful curtains and
love grandma's drapes.
Drapes, yep. So, but excited to get back into a routine with the podcast and feel like we really have a lot of things to catch up on.
So much. Before we get to headlines and all the things we're going to talk about today, when you look back at your Wimbledon experience on the ground this year, curious what sticks out to you?
Well, a lot of things that changed. I think my first impression walking into the Millennial Building, I feel like so many things have changed and I just had to get used to like my surroundings for a little bit. Like, wait, like where does this staircase get me to? And so what's happening? And the elevator's gone. And so that was kind of, I think, the first impression. But then to me, every time, like it doesn't matter when you walk the grounds or, it's such a beautiful club. Like it is just to walk around there and to look at the flowers, take pictures. It's like you're walking through like a botanical garden. So, and then you hear tennis balls being hit at the same time. But it is such an amazing place. Listen, they invested all this money into building two roofs on center court and court one and didn't have to use them this year. Maybe one time or a couple of nights where they needed it more for light than anything. But super hot. And a little bit on a negative note and nothing towards the club, but what I'm feeling sometimes now is how did I live that lifestyle like for 15, 20 years of like going from one tournament to the other and being in that environment? Like I sometimes feel very, and I see sometimes like how, I shouldn't say toxic, but like how like creepy it can get a little bit. And now that I'm maybe, sitting around and watching the environment a little bit more, and maybe I just didn't notice that before when I was kind of in my tunnel and just with my team all the time.
Do you mean with fans?
Fans, people, agents, I think the whole coaches, like the whole environment just seems at times a little bit weird. And you pick up like weird, vibes at times, but
maybe that's just me. Kind of
yes,
sense.
Maybe that's just me, but
for sure.
I just sometimes feel like, wow, like how did I do this for this long? Like, but it was just kind of on cruise control. You just do it and you go through with it. But yeah, really, nice. It was nice talking. I talked to Jamie Baker, the tournament director, for a while, and just to hear about the plans that are coming up. And, it was literally Sunday final. Monday, they're cleaning out the offices and everything is being stored away. And they're just, demolishing everything that we saw there now, like the temporary staircase. Like that was just all, for 1 year basically. And it's all changing now. And so kind of excited to see what will look like in 2027.
I know. So much happening over there. And it'll be interesting to see also if they end up with a fan week type situation at Wimbledon, which obviously currently does not exist. But I think with more space, it's very possible that there is going to be sort of that lead up that you see at all the other slams. So keep you posted on that. But I'm glad you had a good time. And I was on grass courts just
Yes.
across the pond. I was at the Hall of Fame Open on the grounds of the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Other than 2 straight days of rain to get the week started off, we had just the best week. I say it every year. It's really one of my favorite weeks on the calendar. Now it's a combined 125 event, but even so, it's great to have women's tennis back on the grounds there because that was the site of very famous Virginia Slims event. So you had, champions Pam Shriver and Martina and Billie Jean King. So a lot of women's history. We had Tatjana Maria win on the women's side to the surprise of no one. She did not defend her Queen's Club title, but it didn't matter, Kim. She made up ground at other events, made the final in Eastbourne, and absolutely demolished the draw in Newport. Just dismantled people. It looked so uncomfortable for the opponent of Tatjana Maria because she was cutting, chipping and charging, slicing and dicing. And what is so wild, and she said it in one of the post-match interviews, she's like, if you watch me on the practice court, I play completely differently from this. I drive it off full side. She's like, you would have no idea. So imagine literally having 2 plan A's, depending on the surface you are playing on. That is wild.
If you play ping pong and the person on the other side of the table gives you that really nasty slice serve, with an effect, and it bounces and it pops the other way, that's what it's like playing Tatjana Maria. You never get a proper hit on a ball. You never your rhythm. You have no rhythm basically. And if you're not fully confident and you don't hit your targets, this is what happens. She's, unbeatable on the surface. It's not like she has the hardest shots. It's not like she has the best serve. It's just consistent enough, but it's the slicing and dicing and, just breaking your opponent apart. And she's super patient and she just sticks with what she does best. And that just, keep slicing away both sides.
Unbelievable. And the countdown is on 2 more years until her daughter Charlotte will be on tour and they can play together, which is her goal, to wait till Charlotte gets to 14 and they can play some of those tour events together. So
a LeBron and Bronny kind of story, at the Lakers, that would be cool, right?
That would be so cool. Thank you for giving us an outside sport crossover, Kim. I rely on you for those.
Well, that's my basketball side of the family. That's, that's the news that I've been hearing for the last few years.
So a great week in Newport. I, of course, spent time in the museum. And when I tell you, Kim, and I don't really have to tell you this because I'm speaking to the co-president of the International Tennis Hall of Fame. But the pre-Roger Mary Carrillo buildup, I am so ready. It is going to be unbelievable. Just everybody's getting in gear. So we had this very, much smaller event to, get the ops mentality running because it is going to logistically, it is going to be quite the production. And I am so excited.
So I did a couple of things with Roger on, I guess, my second day in for the Hall of Fame. And we did a kids tennis event for Be Legendary and the Wimbledon Kids Tennis Initiative combined. And Roger showed up and it was really amazing to see how natural, down to earth, I've known him since juniors, but just to see how he's just like every one of us. He has his insecurities when he talks about his years of, junior tennis and because everybody just automatically assumes that Roger was always great, and just grew up being great kind of. And but he's so awesome to listen to. And we were in a room with a bunch of donors and sponsors and board members as well. And he does just as well in a suit as he does in his tennis clothes with younger kids and with businessmen. And it's just incredible to see. So I'm super excited for him. And he's just really letting it all kind of come to him. He's not preparing too much. He's not looking at other players' speeches, he said, and he just wants to kind of take it all in. And so it's going to be really exciting. I think after that day, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so great. Just the buildup is now, I feel like it's officially, really getting towards the last few weeks of the Hall of Fame induction weekend.
I know we have so many things to get to, so we need to move on. But one last thing on that, I am so lucky to be able to be on the ground for that induction weekend. And so I know some of the details of what is going to happen. And when I just tell you guys, you are not ready. It is going to be one of the most incredible, if you are a tennis nerd, even if you're not, even if you're like, I watched a tennis match once, it is going to be unbelievable in terms of the history and the production and just a really meaningful moment for anyone who has gotten joy out of the game of tennis. So mark your calendars. I believe it's August 29th is induction day. So with a lot of buildup and excitement beforehand. So excited for that. And Kim, we have two new Wimbledon singles champions. Well, one not new, one defending champ in Jannik Sinner, and Linda Noskova at 21 years old is a Wimbledon singles champion. And they have to then they get to go to the Wimbledon Champions Ball. And I just have to ask you, as someone who has been to this Champions Ball, 2003, right? Have you been more than that? You were a doubles champion in 2003. Have you gone other times?
I went as I think in 98 as a junior finalist. We got invited as well. And so who visited me who came to watch was at the time, I think, 12 or 13 was Kirsten Flip, because she came and watched my juniors final, and I took her with me to the Wimbledon Ball. Yeah, so it's kind of really exciting to like be back there with her. Her playing Legends there now, and but yeah, that was my first kind of real big event, like adult tennis event. And,
did you have a dress? Does somebody provide you with a dress?
So
how does it work?
They bring out a whole rack in the locker room, and you can pick out like between all the dresses that they have. And,
no way.
Yes. Yep. So I was already a trendsetter back then, and I picked this beautiful long brown dress that would be very in today. No, but it was really funny because I think we wore like sneakers under our dresses, and like the sporty tennis players that wear normal clothes, fancy clothes.
You're telling us the Kimfluencer era started long ago, decades ago.
Yes.
Okay, and one follow-up on that, because as I watched the clips of Jannik and Linda having to dance together on stage, which I'm just going to tell you would be my absolute worst nightmare.
Listen, if you win Wimbledon, I would twerk on stage, I think. Like, I don't know. No, that's not true. I would not do that, but I, would break out the dance move, like, by myself if I had to. Like, I wouldn't care. Blair.
I didn't see that coming, Kim.
No, anything to win Wimbledon, right? Like,
I mean, fair. If somebody said, yes, you will win Wimbledon, you will have to twerk on stage, I would probably take that deal.
Yes.
Okay. You know what?
I've done it before, like
on a stage?
Sorry. Long time ago.
On
probably.
A bar?
Some nightclub probably in Belgium, yes. Sorry, guys. This is getting... Yeah, it's late. It's probably
it is late for Kim. But a quick aside, I did meet many fans of the pod in Newport, and one of them said, I try to give you guys an over-under on how long it's going to take you guys to giggle. And we made it like 5 minutes. So yeah, I'm proud of us. Fantastic. Well, listen, we will have a Kim after hours, Kim after dark, where she can tell us about when and where she twerked in her career. Yeah. But really fun to see the other side of the players. Fun to see them get dressed up. Fun to see them having fun. Jannik talking about being tipsy on stage. The clips are fun. If you have not seen them, check them out. So we are going to get to our headlines. We're going to talk WTA Finals, doubles. Little controversy there. And then we're going to get to Kimformation, where we are going to talk about Czech tennis, because there are some parallels between Czech tennis and Belgian tennis. And luckily we have a Belgian tennis expert in the house. That's what you come to us for here at Love All. But first off, Kim, the WTA Finals and the powers that be in Saudi tennis mutually agreed to cut their 3-year contract 1 year short. And we are going to have the WTA Finals at Indian Wells, November, 8th through the 15th. And by all accounts, ticket sales have been really great right off the bat, which is really good news.
I heard about 30,000 tickets have been sold already.
30,000, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. No, and goes to show that there is some excitement there, which is great. We don't know where it's going to be for sure next year. If it is in the US, you like to think that this can sort of build some momentum. But overall, what are your thoughts on that shift?
Well, I think it will be good, for the sport, right? To bring it back to America. I think Indian Wells, when we think about Indian Wells, we always think about, the March, April kind of time period, Indian Wells, Miami. And then, you have a lot of people that will fly from different states over to Indian Wells. And there's really good crowds at that time of the year. I played world team tennis there once later in the year. And it was very, very slow on, ticket sale. And I remember our coach would go to some parking lots of like a Dick's Sporting Goods and stuff and just put like tickets behind like people's windscreens and windshield wipers and just try to get people to come and cheer. And so, I hope that it will, draw enough attention.
Yeah.
And I think if we all start talking about it now and, hopefully, it will catch some momentum. And, but yeah, what they were saying at Wimbledon too, is that, they've sold between 29 and 30,000 tickets. So I think they're using the second biggest court as the
stadium too.
As the stadium court. Yep. So yeah, it's a beautiful place to be. And, I think everything happening now in the Middle East and the conflict, I think it was the smartest choice to move it away from there.
All right, moving on now to some doubles discussion. So during Wimbledon, the ATP announced that starting in 2028, they have plans to cut the prize money allotted to doubles players by about 10%. Currently, the doubles players take home about 20% of the prize money pie. They want to decrease that to 10%. They also want to cut the draws in half. So for a Masters 1000 that has a 32 draw, that would then be a 16. For a 250, which is usually a 16 draw, it would be 8. So again, it's a significant decrease in the number of players who would be able to play in those draws. And before we sort of go into the deep dive, what were your initial thoughts when you heard this, as somebody who has been a number one singles player in the world and a number one doubles player?
I've always loved doubles. I've always loved watching doubles. I think it's a different sport than singles tennis. So I've always liked the challenge for me personally. But as a tennis fan, there's such fun tennis out there in the doubles matches that you don't see, obviously, in a singles court. So I understand a little bit of the approach when it comes to the business side of things, when your tournaments, especially, smaller tournaments too, like how, it's not always easy, right? To fit everything into, a facility. And I've been a tournament director in the Antwerp tournament, and just to, where you only have one match court or maybe two match courts. And then, it's at times, sponsors, and they want the biggest names in the sport. So from that angle, I get it. But I hate it for our sport because there is such great tennis, even when you think outside of the cut that they're going to make, right? Like there's so many great tennis players in doubles that I really, would be ashamed not to have that seen anymore.
I think back, Kim, I'm old enough to remember when the ATP tried to do this 21 years ago in 2005. Really? Do you remember this?
I don't.
There was a whole Save Doubles campaign. The Bryans led a class action lawsuit against the ATP to sort of overturn the changes that they were proposing, which was sets to 5 with a tiebreak at 4-all. They were going to have you couldn't get into a tournament based solely on your doubles ranking. It was a combo of your doubles and singles. And the Bryans were successful really in the ATP walking back some of those changes. And what came out of that was we went down to no ad and the match tiebreak in the third, which I think everybody would look at now. I think at the time people were clutching their pearls thinking, oh my gosh, we're doing away with tradition. But now that is one of the things that makes doubles fun. The fact that there is no ad, the fact that you get the tiebreak in the third, it keeps it moving. So I think it's so hard. Yes, tennis is all about tradition, but I don't think change is necessarily bad. And when you look at Horacio Zabajos, who's 41 years old, he's made over $11 million in his career. That is a lot of money. He's the current number one, I believe. There are a lot of doubles players out there who are doing pretty well for themselves. And so cutting the prize money as well, which is part of the proposed changes, when you look at how much like a 250 is having to pay to house the doubles teams, their coach, sometimes they have a physio. It on a balance sheet sense, it does not make sense. It's also hard to sustain.
Like what we saw at the US Open last year, like with the mixed doubles event as well. Like I think it just shows, the tennis world that people love seeing the singles players play doubles and the excitement of that. And, there's enough singles players that would want to play doubles, just not a full tournament of doubles or not have it combine with the singles. Like I had to stop playing doubles at one point because it just became too intense to do that, quarterfinals and waiting around and not knowing, am I finishing a match at 9:30 at night and, coming back for a singles quarterfinal or a semifinal the next day. Like that's not ideal. So at some point you have to make a decision. I know the WTA back in the day, like they also tried to implement a singles ranking. If a singles player decides to play doubles, like then the singles ranking counts. Like there were some, exemptions that they made, made over the years to make singles players play more doubles. But yeah, I think the more, we see events like, Fan Week, mixed doubles, like I think they're going to try and see like what will bring the most crowds to these matches and to most of the matches. And there's like if I look at Wimbledon, like how some of the Legends matches, how many people are coming to watch it, like it's incredible. In the second week, how many people watch the Legends, both men, women, and the mixed event. Like it's just a very popular event. In the second week, people love seeing the older generation like kind of play these matches and play good level, but at times there's also some fun and laughter with them. So they have a good, like better, closer connection, I think, to the players than they maybe do, during the normal draw. So it's, very interesting. I'm curious to see, what the US Open did with the mixed double event was very, very impressive. And I think it got a lot of people's heads spinning and opened, creatively looking at things to see how can we do different things with doubles, mixed doubles, and kind of be creative. But we'll see where it will go.
And I want to address one other thing that has gotten a lot of play as this has come out is, well, the ATP isn't promoting doubles players. How do they expect to have a double star when there's one doubles post to 10 plus posts about singles? And again, I think it is a two things can be true situation. Having been on the social media side of, side of the fence, side of the tracks, it takes a lot of money to do all that promotion. So often you have one, maybe two people on site at a tournament trying to do all the social media posting. And to actually invest and do that properly and tell the stories of these doubles players takes then this much more in terms of resources, if you're not watching this.
Yeah.
I'm doing hand motions. But yeah, so when you already think, okay, they're getting this 20% piece of the prize money pie, and then you're thinking, how many more thousands would it take to have to invest in doing this properly? I think people are just looking at the balance sheet and thinking, I don't know how we do this. So again, having seen it from the other side, it's hard. I love being able to tell the story of a new player, as I mentioned, and have people get to know X, Y, or Z doubles player. It just is when you have a 1 week tournament and you have all this stuff you have to get out and things for sponsors, and you're promoting obviously the singles as well, and you're trying to sell tickets, it's so hard to mix that in. So anyway, I just to give people some perspective, it's just not as easy as, we'll just tell their stories. And then of course they would have fans. It just is hard. There's just a lot that goes into that. So
I also think, Blair, like in the States, whenever I played doubles in the States, I feel like the fans love doubles in America. Like I feel like it was such a different view on doubles in America as it is maybe in Europe or so. Like I was always very impressed with, and I think because a lot of people love playing doubles in America as well. Like there's a lot of opportunities for people, to play whatever USDA or league or whatever it is, and so yeah, I think people really enjoy watching doubles because they feel like they can relate a little bit more or want to learn in a sense. So we'll see.
I just want to get a temp check from you on our friends Aryna Sabalenka and Iga Świątek, who, if you look at Aryna's results since Miami, quarters in Madrid, lost to Haley Baptiste, third round of Rome, lost to Correa, had a back issue there, quarters of Roland Garros to Schneider, semis Berlin, 0 in the third to Pagula, second 0 in the third loss there, and losing at Wimbledon, the round of 16 to Naomi Osaka, who, by the way, I watched that match and was like, Naomi Osaka is going to win another slam. That was my takeaway from that match. But
definitely,
when you think about Aryna, who is living her best life in Greece at the moment, what do you think?
I just feel like on these two surfaces, and maybe for me it was a little bit similar back in the day, is I just felt like my movement where she, she's so good on the hard courts where if she gets pulled out wide, she pushes off, she comes back, she is able to, in a defensive situation, create so much power still and counter, get from a defensive situation and come out maybe in a little bit more of an advantage situation. She is not able to do that consistently especially on a clay court, but also on grass courts. I think she just, in her head, has to be a little bit cautious and she has to play with caution. And I just don't think that's her personality and her game style. And and it just, hitting the ball hard, the serve. I noticed that she, in the first couple of rounds, like she tried to, use some slices, come in a little bit more, but it just wasn't consistently good enough. And whereas on clay, the intensity that she has and the power that her ground shots create on the other side of the net is it's just nonstop. Like it's shot after shot, and she just is not able to create that on the clay and on grass, I think.
When you look at Iga, who has not won a title since Seoul last fall, this spring her best results, I think arguably, was her semifinal run in Rome, where she ended up losing to Svitolina in 3 sets. She looked great up until that loss to Svitolina, and then she also took out Osaka and Pagula in that tournament. And then, the loss to Alexiala at Wimbledon, and she just looks lost. I don't know what word you would describe it as, but yeah, tough to watch.
To me, it almost feels like she wants it too much, where it becomes such an obsession, and I feel it. Maybe I'm completely off, but I feel it with the way that she walks in between the points, the way that she walks to the court, to the chair when the game's over. After the match, her first round win at Wimbledon, you can be the defending champion, but it just was almost such a relief, that she got through that first round. And it just shows how much tension there is on winning and on trying to win another slam, I think. That's what it feels like to me. And it's, I don't know. It's just, I think, really hard when under that kind of pressure that she puts on herself. I think there's obviously an expectation from the outside world, but I think it's a lot of it she just puts on herself because she has been so great and she has been dominant. But I think she's built, there's been an intensity that has kind of crawled into her system and into her body that when she plays, it's like, I never feel like she's comfortable, confident. It's like she's, very much pushing, I got to try harder. I got to move my feet faster. And it's not always the most efficient way or the most flowy, easygoing way, I think. And which she had, I feel, a little bit more when she was dominating.
So how do you get out of that cycle?
Well, that's very, very hard. And because I also think it is a little bit her personality, right? She's very, super hardworking, wants to play and get better all the time. And I just think sometimes, people think work hard, play hard, but sometimes it just becomes a little bit too much and you just have to work smarter. And I think, I don't know. I don't know what the best way to get out of that is. And you can talk to yourself and put less pressure on yourself and take the breaks and have fun and try to have fun. But it's mostly what goes on between the 2 ears, and is if that focus is there on trying to achieve, and she is competitive. And of course, every player in the draw wants to win. And when you've been, winning slams like she has, that's obviously the goal every time, because she knows when she plays well, she should be able or can beat everybody. And so it's really hard to figure out how to kind of slow it down. And slowing it down doesn't mean like, oh, she has to slow down the speed of her arm or her footwork, but it's like in between the points. Like there's a calmness. Like when you look at Nosková, like she's super intense from the moment that she's, starts bouncing the ball for the serve, from the moment that she's standing ready for the return. Like there's an intensity, there's an aggressiveness, but there's such a calmness in between the points and in between the changeovers that, I feel like Iga at the moment just doesn't have. And what is the reason? What is the way to get that better? Is I don't know. I have no idea.
Before we move on to Kimformation, where we are going to talk Czech tennis, we're also going to, I don't know if you saw this on the rundown, Kim, but I have to get your opinion on the Coco forehand on match point. So we're going to talk about all of that in Kimformation. But before we move on, I do want to say congratulations to Katie Bolter and Alex de Minaur, who got married on the Sunday of the men's final, which I think had some people scratching their heads, as he is the number 5 player in the world. But congrats to them.
He was in my final bracket. He was in my bracket the last day.
Kim, I was not going to bring up how the brackets went for you. Do you even know?
No, I don't. I don't. So I assume I'm last again.
I just want to, in the combined sense, you were not first. You were perhaps the most bad in the combined numbers. But you know what? I just want to thank you, because really you were taking one for the team, because as a Hall of Famer, you can be the most bad as a match winner picker. And it's okay. If I were the worst, people would be like, get this rando off the pod. But anyway, moving on. I also want to say.
So who won? Can you tell me that? Andy?
I think in the combined, did I win? Ella, did I win?
You did?
I might have in the combined.
Let's see. Yeah, it looks like Blair and then John and then Andy and then Kim. Unfortunately, you were last, but we know you tried your hardest.
A for effort, Kim Clijsters. I'm starting to sweat here. No, I am thrilled and delighted. And when I tell you, that was a huge shock to me when I checked today, because I was so distressed that I had picked Otto Virtanen to upset Ben Shelton in the first round and changed it at midnight before the match went on the court. I have been told by professional gamblers, don't ever do that. Don't stray from your first gut reaction. But watch Challenger tennis, people, because the only reason I thought that was going to happen was because I saw Otto Virtanen play in the Birmingham Open a few weeks before and commentated on his matches, and dude has game, especially on grass. So
there you go. And you know your tennis right there. There you go. Listen, how am I last? I put Sinner as the winner. Now I'm like trying to think
but we
back.
all did.
Like,
that's the problem, Kim. We all put Sinner as the winner. Yes.
So de Minaur, I had him in the final, I think, at one point. I don't know.
He was getting married instead. As
only
is
I knew
Tommy
the wedding
Paul.
date.
I know, if only. Tommy Paul, congrats to Tommy and Paige. They are getting married. We're recording this on a Tuesday. On a Tuesday night, Tommy told me in Houston earlier this year, he said it's going to be the best Tuesday of my life. Which is the most Tommy Paul thing to say. Yes. Getting married today on Long Island. I'm so happy for them. He is just the best. Did you see them playing bottle roulette?
Can we do that once?
Please.
I just can't run fast yet, like away from whoever's hitting. But I would love to do that with the whole team.
That would be, I would pay big bucks. I would. Wow, that is a great idea, Kim. We would have so much fun. Also, I think you would dominate, because I think you would just be a sniper.
If I have the ball in the right, not with running away. Like at the moment, I'm not.
You can just be all-time sniper. We'll work on our sprinting.
Okay.
It is time now for Kimformation with our favorite Kimfluencer. I am so excited to ask you about this, Kim, because there are so many parallels between Czech tennis and Belgian tennis, countries of around the same size. And when we had 2 Czechs in the women's final, there were headlines galore: checkmate, check off. There were other ones, but it's great for all the newspaper writers out there. And also, no surprise, in 3 of the last 4 years, we've had Czech women's winners for Wimbledon singles. And since the start of the Open era, the Czechs are now tied with the Belgians for Grand Slam titles, so 11 and 11. And so I would love to hear your thoughts, not only coming from a country around the same size, like 10.9 million people, but also having known many of those players and known how those players were raised in Czechia, as we're calling it now, not Czech Republic.
I just the last few days of Wimbledon, it was really interesting to listen to, a lot of the interviews from, Slovakian player like Daniela Hantuchová, where it used to be the Czechoslovakia, Martina Navratilova. Like the way Daniela described it too was, she says Martina Navratilova created the blueprint of what a tennis player should look like, and she set the bar for the coaches, how coaches need to start teaching young kids what's important, for a female tennis player. So, they have their tennis center in Prague. They have very, very strong club level coaching as well. So I think from a young age, women's tennis, girls tennis is super, super popular. It's the number 1 sport in the Czech Republic, which it's not in Belgium. What is very important is I looked up to Sabine Appelmans, who was a top 15 player on the WTA side. Dominique Monami from the French side was top 10, I think made the semis at the Australian Open. So there's, always that role model that you can kind of get close to. I was able to practice with Sabine, and when I hear like Martina Navratilova, she's always spent a lot of time giving back to the Czech players and advice and hitting. And so I think we can't underestimate how important that is, like to have somebody like her who's, in the top 2-3 of the greatest players to ever, play our sport, and on the singles and the doubles court. And I loved what is so important, what's been really important in Belgium, and I think it's the same in the Czech Republic, is that you play on clay courts during the summer, but then in the winter when the weather gets bad, we play on carpets. Back in the day, now some clubs will have more hard courts indoors, but carpets was what we played on, and is very relatable to what the older Wimbledon grass courts would play like. And so for me, when I see the Czech players, like the female players, I think we can now compare them to the Spanish clay quarters. Like I think the women on, the Czech players are the grass court specialists. And because they hit such a clean ball, they play, their technique is great. Jana Novotná back in the day, like just to see, how she played on the court and her beautiful timing and just how composed she was and just stayed so calm out there. And just like Linda, to me, not as much in the game style, but the mindset, to me, like I was like, wow, like there's such a calmness, even when she, in the final lost the second set, and how she was able to just mentally come back was so, so impressive. And I think you can only learn that when it's been taught, or when you've watched tennis and you've seen players in your country talk about it in interviews, or read interviews in the papers about it. Like I think that's the only way, because it just doesn't happen naturally. I think you must experience that some way through somebody else's experience.
Right. Do you think in some ways the size of the country is a benefit, because you see all the other players doing it? You see kids growing up and going out on a tennis court, where here in the US, I mean, you have no idea. There are, soccer, basketball, there are a zillion options. And so to see, the other girls at school going out to play tennis because their parents play tennis or their grandparents play tennis, do you think that it's like almost like a peer pressure thing that could be helpful?
Yeah, I do think so. And I also think that because the countries are so small, that from when the girls start 2.5, 3 years old, a lot of times, like that's when they're able to start playing tennis and or develop, hand-eye coordination on a tennis court. It's not always hitting balls, but there's a development but that's mostly over the whole country the same way. I feel like in America, I feel like, you can go to, you can bring a 4-year-old to a tennis club and they'll, hit 40 forehands, 40 backhands, forehand volley, backhand volley, try some overheads, and then we do some serve, and then the hour lesson is over. Like you don't do that like in Europe when they're little. It's all game-like, learning how to do the motions, but in a playful way. Like there's a lot of, brain development, connection to keeping it fun. Tennis is only, is a fun sport when you know how to play it, but to keep kids entertained for so long, for a few years until it becomes fun, like is really, really hard. And I think in America, they lose a lot of players to other sports or team sports. Because it just isn't fun enough, or not being taught, or it's not taught, in a fun enough way to keep kids on board.
And I also think just the tennis family, I actually practice with someone here in suburban Fort Worth, who is from Czechia, was a few years younger than Peter Korda, and so grew up sort of in that generation. The number of times that I have been calling Challenger Tennis and he has known the mother or the aunt or the trainer or they are all still involved. It is like a generational passing down of tennis knowledge, and it could be the on-court or the off-court side of things. Like even the tennis trainers know how to train specifically for tennis. So it's like that heritage that gets passed down. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle very much, especially in the Czech Republic. Like there is that club atmosphere, the social life a lot of time for the parents is in and around the club. And it's just a completely different way of being brought up. Like to me, my social life was my tennis club. We finished our either a private lesson or a group session most of the days of the week. It was like group lessons, but then when we were done, we would go play tennis in a squash court with all the kids. We would go just hang out and just play more sports, and kind of that became the environment. And it's hard to, I feel like in the States, you don't really have that social aspect related to like a tennis club, unless maybe you're in a country club but then, it's a little bit, I mean, I'm not a part of one, so I don't know what that's like, but it doesn't seem like it is as fun in Belgium or, in the memberships to, being a part of a club are, what is it, 200 euros a year, and that includes your insurance fee from the federation, and then you can start playing tournaments, and of course you have to pay for your lessons and everything. But it's a part of the social life, and it's so fun. So kids, they just enjoy and have a great time hanging around the tennis courts, playing tennis, having fun, and not always with a tennis coach telling you what to do. There's so much free ways of, playing tennis out there. And we would spend hours and hours on the court playing tennis or doing the windmill, like where you run around the court, and just, we would find games to play nonstop.
All right, Kim. Anything else you want to say on that topic before I ask you my burning question?
No. That's it.
All right. I want to know what was going through your head when you were watching the end of the Muchova Coco Gauff semifinal, when at 9-8 in the match tiebreak, Coco had hit a great first serve that Carolina did unbelievably well to get back in play, and has a high bouncing short forehand and goes for the drop shot. It dribbles into the bottom of the net, and all of us collectively gasped. And I'm wondering what your initial thoughts were.
Well, my initial thought was it just showed that she, in her head, is not ready to hit an aggressive forehand after such a strong first serve. Whether she thought maybe that could have been it, and she maybe wasn't expecting, another ball to come back. Yeah, and it's normal that there's so much tension, right? It was such an incredible tiebreak. Like it is, like it was so strong. The level for them to play their best tennis both at the same time, like and the grass court tennis that they were playing. You know, they were aggressive ground strokes coming into the net. Mukova hitting a dive volley. Like it was every point. I feel like was very, very high level. But then I listened to Coco's press conference, and of course, you know, it's not played it off, but kept it a little bit lighter kind of on that error. But then when she said like, yeah, she felt like there was a little bit of a bad bounce and she just adjusted, like made like a switch. And then I went back and I looked at it and you could see that there was like a little, like it kind of just popped up a little bit. And so then when I saw that, which I didn't see the first time or when I was watching it live, so then I was like, yeah, I can kind of, you know, relate to, you know, the tension maybe in your arm and you're just not quite ready to hit through it, and then the bad bounce and you just like try to just chip it over the net. But I think my reaction in the beginning was the same as, you know, what you see. Everybody was like, oh no, like what did she just do? You know, but then immediately you can relate in so many ways because it is such a stressful moment. And then, you know, for her, you know, the shot to kind of break down in the biggest moment of her, you know, of Wimbledon at that stage. You know, is it a surprise at times that it's exactly that shot? If she would have hit a backhand, you know, she wouldn't have hit a drop shot, right? Like she would have gone for the winner and probably made it. And so, you know, that just shows like when you're on the other side of the net, and a lot of times, you know, a lot of players cannot read when an opponent is maybe a little bit hesitant with his shot, or when you know, like, oh, in Coco's case, like, oh, the forehand is maybe a little bit of a weaker shot than her backhand. In these big moments, you always go to the weaker shot because it will break down more than the other shot. So, yeah, sometimes people overthink it and overthink the tactics, but just keep it simple. Like serve everything to the forehand as often as you can because you will get some easier mistakes. But, you know, it was hard, to watch and to know, how close she came to winning that match. And, but, you know, great fight from Mukova to fight through that match. And also some mistakes here and there, slipped, had an easier volley and on match point and then slipped, and Coco hit a passing shot. So it was like everything was in that tiebreak, and there was so many different emotions, high level, couple of errors that really at the end of the day it just came down to 1 or 2 points. And I think everybody was like, "This is why tennis is the best sport. Like this is why." Like, and it's sad that somebody has to lose.
I know. It was Matt Futterman, who is a writer for The Athletic, has a book that's either come out or is coming out called The Cruelest Game. And I do love that it was both of those sides, that we were like, this is the best. And also,
yes,
this is simultaneously the worst. It can be so brutal, but a really cool moment for tennis nonetheless.
What did you feel about the forehand there? What was your, was it bad bounce? Was it hesitation on her side to not hit the winner with it, or like?
I think, and you know this better than I do, but so often the first thing to get affected when you are feeling that level of internal stress is the feet. The feet stop, and then it just sort of works its way up. And I almost feel like she just stopped.
Went straight.
Yes.
Yeah, she almost went a little bit straight instead of turning a little bit. Yeah.
So I was thinking that could have played a role as well, that she did not get herself in the position that she would have needed to be in to hit that forehand. And so yeah, it's so easy to look back though and be like, should have done this, should have done that. Yeah, I mean, but overall though, great signs for Coco at Wimbledon, a place where I don't know that anyone thought she would do as well as she did this year. And I hope that gives her hope and, maybe a different outlook there than she would have had otherwise going forward.
Thinking back now about my bracket, I think Rybakina really messed up my about my draw.
When you picked Rybakina and Alex de Minaur, I was like, wow, she is really thinking they are going to turn it around at Wimbledon.
Yes.
But I loved you believing in them. I mean, I picked Alina Svitolina. to get to the final, I think, or something like that initially. So
And you still beat me.
and somehow
And you still won. Not even beat me, you won.
unclear how. Okay, Kim, before we finish things off, do you have a recommendation for this week?
I have an Instagram follow that I started really liking. If I can share.
Perimenopause?
No. Movement. Movement and pain specialist. It's a lot of the fascia kind of longevity kind of movement, like a lot of like flowy kind of first thing in the morning. So his name is Noah Paragine. If I don't know, I can show you. His Instagram page is Longevity Lab Kauai. I think he's in Hawaii.
Okay, cool.
And so he just shows a lot of videos about, like movement in the morning, breathing through it. And I think now, like, I'm still not really doing any runs or jumping, but a lot of that, like, I do feel like that my joints and everything from being less active kind of just gets a little bit more stiff and everything. So I've been doing some of his, and I'm actually going to talk to, I've been in touch with him over whatever this is, Instagram messaging, or what do you call that? And then, so I'm going to book in an appointment and kind of get him on the phone and see how we can help with, loosening some. Yeah. So that's
Report back. Okay. Longevity Lab Kauai.
Yep. Longevity Lab Kauai.
All right. Well,
what about
you?
you?
Let me know if I should make an appointment as the least flexible and mobile person you've probably ever met, Kim. All right. My recommendation for the week is sun-related once again. It is, I was desperate when I did the Wimbledon Court in Central Park event, which was at the very beginning of Wimbledon, which seems like it was 2 years ago. But I went to New York and realized I had forgotten to bring my sunscreen lip balm that I usually put over like whatever, lipstick or whatever I have on when I'm working. Forgot it, went into Sephora and said, please help me. I need something that I can wear that has sunscreen in it. And this stuff is called, the brand is K Skin. And I got the non-tinted shade. There are some that are tinted, but I am so picky when it comes to lip gloss and lip balm. This is going to sound really weird, but there are some lip balms that I wear that actually make my lips feel dry. So 10 minutes later, I'm like, I got to get something else on my lips. So I'm extremely picky. This stuff not only stays on, which is important when you are outside for, literally sometimes over 12 hours a day. It stays on. It's glossy, so you have to sort of like the gloss aspect of it, but it's like perfect if you want to look professional, but you want something to go over it. This stuff was so great. So I just, thanks to a random Sephora woman who was like, try K Skin.
Great.
So there you go.
Good.
I'll have to send you some.
Off to
Care
Sephora.
package. Yes, exactly. But Kim, this has been such a delight. I have missed this so much.
Same. Me too.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
It does. It does.
Well, we're coming up on midnight there, or is it after midnight?
No, but what is it, 11:40, I think? So just
Kim,
everybody else
After
is
Dark
asleep.
was a success.
But does anybody know if the Spain-France game is finished?
Oh, good question. Ella, do you want to break that news to us?
1-0 to Spain.
Looks like Spain won 2-0.
Wow. Oh my God.
Is that a surprise to you?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. So they're in the final to play Argentina or England.
That is going to be wild. All right, Kim.
All right.
I will see you next week.
Next week.
I'm missing Kimformations, your daily Kimformations already, but can't wait for the next slam. Only a few more months. We'll see you all later. Thank you so much for listening. As always, please follow us at Love All Podcast on all the things, like, subscribe. And thank you so much for all your amazing feedback during Wimbledon and the Hall of Fame Open. We appreciate it. So for Ella, our amazing producer, and the whole team, we will see you next week.
Thanks, Ella. Thanks, Blair.